What's up, guys? PlayMat format. KruzMTG about to do a deck tech. There's a show playing in the background. It's called Elite. Netflix original. We own no rights to it. The people that made it owns rights, Netflix or whatever. They own the rights to the video. Anyways, let's get started. These are the lands. I use the basic lands. Command Tower, always good in the commander deck. Sanctum of Eternity. You can pay 2, tap it. Return target commander you own from the battlefield to your hand. Activate this ability only during your turn. Exotic Orchard. Really good. You could add 1 mana of any color that an opponent controls. Uncharted Haven. You choose a color and it taps for that chosen color. Of course, Temple of the False Gods. Myray Landscape. You can tap 2 to tap it to search your library for 2 basic land cards of the same type. Terramorphic Expanse. Sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card. Shuffle. Temple of the Dragon Queen. You can reveal a dragon from your hand, or if you already have a dragon, this enters the battlefield untapped. You could choose a color, and this adds mana of that color. Evolving Wilds, the module. It's really cool. Does the same thing as the Terramorphic Expanse. Dungeon Descent foil. What the fuck is this thing? There's a weird bug on the table that doesn't want to die, apparently. Another one? What is it? I don't know. It's a weird bug. Alright, anyways, you tap it and you get to venture into the dungeon. There's a lot of dungeon stuff. Haven of the Spirit Dragon. It adds 1 color of any mana only for dragon creatures. You can tap 2 to sacrifice this and return target dragon card or Ugin the Planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. Vivid Marsh. You get 2 charge counters on it. It taps for black, or you could tap it to remove a charge counter and it'll add 1 mana of any color. Of course, more basic lands. Isolated Watchtower. You get to tap 2, tap it, scry 1, and then if it's a land, you get to put it onto the battlefield. It's pretty cool. Opal Palace. Good card for commander. Oran Reef Vastwood. Enters battlefield tapped, but you get to add 1 green, or you could tap it to put 1/1/1 counter on each green creature you control. Unclaimed Territory. Basically the same things. Crucible of the Spirit Dragon. And then Mystifying Maze is a good one. You get to exile target attacking creature and opponent controls. At the beginning of the next end step, though, it returns it to the battlefield. And then Underdark Rift. I put this one in it because you get to roll a d10. Put target artifact, creature, or planeswalker into its owner's library just beneath the top X cards of that library, where X is the result. So it could be 10. 10. I'm going to put your Nicobolus 10 from the top of your library, you know. Anyways, we'll start with my commander is Tiamat, or Tiamat. or something like that. It costs 2 regular and then a white, blue, black, red, and green. It says when he enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you search your library for up to 5 dragon cards not named Tiamat that each have different names. Reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. So this guy is really good for a dragon commander. Dragon Speaker Shaman. Dragon spells cost 2 less to cast, which would really help out with this guy. Nadar. Selfless Paladin. When he enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to venture into the dungeon. If you complete a dungeon, other creatures you control get +1/+1. Eobon Death Drakosluth. It has flash flying. Eobon Death Dracolich enters the battlefield tapped. You may cast him from your graveyard if a creature named Eobon Death Dracolich died this turn. So if he died this turn, you could cast him from the graveyard. I put Terror of Mount Velis in here because it's flying double strike, and when he enters the battlefield, he gives creatures you control double strike. So those are my creatures so far. There's Red Dragon. He's the alt art version of the Red Dragon. He's pretty cool. I like him. When he enters the battlefield, he deals 4 damage to each opponent. We got Scourge of Valakis. Really good in a dragon deck. Scourge of Valakis, when it enters the battlefield, under your control, of course, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of dragons you control. So we also got Atarka. Atarka the World Render, which is a really good dragon for a dragon deck. Flying Trample, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. So each time you attack with your dragons, they gain double strike. We got Old Gnar, or Old Gnawbone. Yeah, Old Gnawbone. It's a legendary creature dragon with flying. It's the extended art version. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. So if you don't have the mana for this guy, and you have this guy on the field, and like this double strike guy, and you hit somebody for 7 twice, you get 14 treasure tokens. Then you'll definitely have enough to play that guy. Tiamat. Inferno Star mounts. He can't be countered. He has flying and haste, but you could tap 1 red, so multiple reds, and Inferno of the Star mounts gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When its power becomes 20 this way, it deals 20 damage to any target. He could be a cool commander too. He is a pre-release card too. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I think he is. Threkis the Butcher from the new Dungeons and Dragons set. Threkis the Butcher is a really cool dragon. He said it has trample, and whenever Threkis the Butcher attacks, double the power of each dragon you control until end of turn. Really, really good stuff. Miriam, Sentinel Wayworm. Pretty cool. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you get to create a token that's a copy of that dragon, except if it's a legendary dragon, it is not. The copy is not legendary. Chaos Dragon. I like him because it's cool. Flying Haste. Chaos Dragon attacks each combat Fable, and at the beginning of combat, on your turn, each player rolls a d20. If one or more opponents had the highest result, Chaos Dragon can't attack those players or Planeswalker they control this turn. So it's chance on who this dragon can attack. Ambitious Dragonborn. Really cool dragon from the new Dungeons set. Ambitious Dragonborn enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control and creature cards in your graveyard. So he could be a big dude. Really big dude. And then with Thrakis and Atarka, great combo. Just hit people with double strike and double the power of him. If I had like Tiamat on the battlefield, he would get 7 +1/+1 counters, and then when this guy attacks, he become a 14/14, and then with double strike, yeah. And then I get a bunch of treasure tokens. Chronos Dragonheart, another cool dragon from the new set. It says whenever Chronos Dragonheart attacks, it gets +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the greatest power among other dragons you control and dragon cards in your graveyard. Choose a background, so you get a background out of it too. Topaz Dragon. He's pretty cool. He has an adventure ability. It costs 1 and 1 black. Creatures you control gain death touch till end of turn. So you could send him on an adventure, exile him to the side, send him on an adventure, and then all your creatures will have death touch plus double power, double strike, all that cool stuff. And if you just play him as a dragon, he has flying and death touch. We have Staring Bard, which is another dragon from the new set. Defender, when Staring Bard enters the battlefield, you take the initiative, which is really cool. When you take the initiative, you could either go into a dungeon or go into the Undercity. You could also tap him, and target creature gains menace until end of turn. There's Crystal Dragon. Crystal Dragon also has an adventure. It says return target artifact, enchantment, or legendary card from your graveyard to your hand. But if you don't use that, he's a flying vigilance dragon. Savage Ventmaw. He says, flying, whenever Savage Ventmaw attacks, add 3 red and 3 green until end of turn. You do not lose this mana as steps and phases end. So you get to keep that 3 red and 3 green until like you decide to spend it. Feywild Trickster. It is not a dragon, but whenever you roll 1 or more dice, create a 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature token with flying. So each time you roll a dice, do I have a dice dragon in here somewhere? Yeah, with this guy, each time somebody rolls a dice, I get a 1/1 blue fairy creature token. Dragon. Oh, wait, no. Whenever I roll a dice. So I haven't showed any of the roll dice stuff yet that I roll dice for. You'll have to wait. I'm doing the creatures first, guys. All creatures first, then we'll go with the other stuff. Because the other stuff's pretty damn good, too. But right now, it's a dragon deck. I'm showing off all my cool dragons. Okay, we have Avenging Hunter. He has trample, and when Avenging Hunter enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. So you go back, either go into a dungeon or go into the Undercity. Blue Dragon. Blue Dragon says Flying Lightning Breath. When Blue Dragon enters the battlefield until your next turn, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-0, up to one other target creature gets -2/-0, and up to one other creature gets -1/-0. So you could decrease the power of their creatures and then swing in with a 5/5. Well, hopefully the other creatures ain't as powerful. I mean, ain't like 10/10s or some shit like that, because then 5/5 ain't really that scary. A full extended art Black Dragon. The Black Dragon has Acid Breath. When Black Dragon enters the battlefield, target creature and opponent controls gets -3/-3 till end of turn. Ganax Astral Hunter is one of my favorite dudes from the new set. He says, Flying. Whenever Ganax Astral Hunter or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token. So each time a dragon enters the battlefield, you get to create a treasure token. Also, it says choose a background. Extended art green dragon. Extended art green dragon has poison breath. When green dragon enters the battlefield, until end of turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, destroy it. So, like if you blocked a creature that's smaller or than your other dragons and stuff, it takes damage, so at the end that creature will die. Rainier Merchant of Marvels. This one's pretty cool too. It's a blue dragon. Legendary creature Dragon Artificer. You may cast dragon spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. So if you had this guy on the battlefield, and someone had this like giant creature and they swung at you and you didn't know what you're gonna do, you could cast a giant creature of your own, because dragons are usually pretty powerful, from your hand to block that creature. Let's see here. We got Skyline Despot. Skyline Despot has flying. When it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. Monarch ability is pretty cool. You get a crown, and the crown reads, at the end of at the end step, draw a card. So you get to draw a card each time at the end step, as long as you're the Monarch. But with Skyline Despot, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you're still the Monarch, you get to create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Dragon Turtle. Turtle. It has flash and drag below. When Dragon Turtle enters the battlefield, tap it and up to one target creature an opponent controls. They don't untap during their controller's next untap steps. So as long as you control Dragon Turtle, that creature will not untap. White Dragon Extended Art White Dragon. Flying Cold Breath. When White Dragon enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Bam. White Dragon. Thunderbreak Dragon. Really cool dragon. It says, whenever a dragon you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, Thunderbreak Regent deals 3 damage to that player. So if they targeted any of your dragons with like a counterspell or something, not a counterspell, because then the dragon wouldn't be on the battlefield, like a death spell or something, Thunderbreak Regent would pretty much lightning bolt them to the face. Then we got the Dragon Lord's Savant. He says dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. He's a lot cheaper than Dragon Speaker Shaman by 1. So that's why he's in here. We got the Sapphire Dragon. Sapphire Dragon also has an adventure spell. Says counter target non-creature spell. That's cool. And then, or you could play it as the dragon, and whenever Sapphire Dragon attacks or blocks, you get to scry 2. Ooh, that means you get to set up the top 2 cards for the next turn, which is pretty cool. Swashbuckler Extraordinaire. Yeah. Okay. He's a Dragon Rogue warrior, and whenever you attack, you may sacrifice 1 or more treasures. When you do, up to that many target creatures gain double strike until end of turn. So there's plenty of ways to give dragons double strike in this deck. That was all the creatures in the deck. Pretty standard dragon deck. A bunch of dragons, a bunch of stuff that makes dragons cost less. A bunch of ways to create treasure tokens to get your more powerful dragons out. Now we're going to go with the instants, sorceries, enchantments, and artifacts, stuff like that. The first one is a contract other plane. It says roll a d20. 1 and 9, you get to draw 2 cards. 10 and 19, 10 through 19, you get to scry 2, then draw 2 cards. Or if you roll a 20, which you gotta be really lucky to do, because it's really hard to roll a 20 apparently, you get to scry 3 and then draw 3 cards. Cool draw card mechanic, and it also helps with that fairy dragon card that allows you to get a fairy. We got Grim Bounty. It is a sorcery. It says destroy a target creature or planeswalker. Cost 4, and you get to create a treasure token. So another way to create more mana for your higher dragons. We got a gratuitous violence. If a creature you control would deal damage to a permanent or a player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or a player. You know, so the double strike really helps with this. If you have this out for the enchantment and your dragon is double powered already, so it's a 14/14 with double strike. It hits first, and then it doubles the 14/14, so it'd be 28, and then it hits again, deals more damage, and that'd be 28 more damage. If that was your commander, you pretty much won the game with that card. There's Mage Slayer. Whenever equipped creature attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. Like I said, double powered, double strike, bam bam, pretty much death. Colossus's a will. It says you get to choose one. If you control a commander as you cast this spell, you may choose both. So you could either have Breath Flame, which Colossus's will deals X damage to each creature without flying, or Smash Relics, destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments. So if you're going against an enchantment deck, I guess that would really come in handy. If you just wanted to, clear the board, it's also a board wipe, so comes in handy. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. One of my favorite cards, because it says each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until that player has exiled cards with total mana value 20 or more. Sometimes that can get rid of like big threats like Eldrazi's. But I don't know if they can be reshuffled after exiled. I can't remember, but that pretty much would get rid of an Emrakul if it was in someone's deck. Warstorm Surge. It's another enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So, yeah, dragons have huge power most of the time, so you're just dealing damage each time you play a dragon. Vorpal Sword, one of my favorites. It's also a pre-release card. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has Death Touch, so you could give a creature Death Touch. You can pay 8 mana, but 5 colorless and 3 black. Until end of turn, Vorpal Sword gains whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. and you can equip it for just 2. That is a really good card. Sword of Hours. It's an artifact equipment, and whenever equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever a creature deals combat damage, roll a d12. If the result is greater than the damage dealt, or the result is 12, double the number of +1/+1 counters on that creature. So if it was like a 6/6 and you rolled a 12, you get to double the +1/+1 counters on it and make it bigger. Kodama's Reach. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, and then you get to shuffle. Diabolic Tutor. Old school from 8th edition. You pretty much search your library for a card and put it into your hand. Then you also get to shuffle your library. Paladin class. Spells your opponents cast during your turn cost 1 more to cast. You can level it up by tapping 2 and 1 white. To level 2, creatures you control get +1/+1. You can level it up to level 3 by 4 and 1 white. Whenever you attack until end of turn, target attacking creature gets +1/+1 for each other attacking creature and gains double strike. Now, because you level it up doesn't mean you lose the other 2 abilities. You get all 3 abilities once it's fully leveled up to level 3. Soul Ring. It's a 1-drop 2 mana. Zariel, Archduke of Arvenus. +1. Creatures you control gets +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. It gives haste, that's why it's in here. 0, you get to create a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. -6, though, is pretty cool. You get an emblem with at the end of the first combat phase on your turn, you get to untap target creature you control, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Whew. So you only get to untap 1 creature, but you get an additional combat phase. Profane Tutor. Pretty much you suspend it for 2. You have to wait 2 turns, and then you get to play it without paying its mana cost. And search your library for a card and shuffle your library. Menace Containment. You get to play this on a creature. Enchant non-land permanent, or an enchantment, or an artifact, whatever you want to get rid of. It turns it into a treasure token. And the only and you can sacrifice it for land, but it also loses all of its other abilities. Faradar's Fireball is also Faradar's Fireball deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and then you get to roll a d20. And then 1 through 9, Faradar's Fireball deals 2 damage to each player, or 10 through 20, Faradar's Fireball deals 2 damage to each opponent. So it destroys pretty much a creature or planeswalker sometimes. But when you roll the d20, it's either deals damage to everybody or it just deals damage to your opponent. So it's luck of the draw there. Explore Underdark. Pretty much you get to look for a basic land card or a gate card. And 2 basic land cards or 2 gate cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped. But it also says you take the initiative, which is why it's in here. Treasure chest. You sacrifice the treasure chest and roll a d20 by paying for it. 1, you're trapped, you lose 3 life. So if you roll a 1, you're really unlucky. 2 or 9, you get to create 5 treasure tokens. 10 to 19, you gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. But if you roll a 20, you get to search your library for a card. If it's an artifact card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. So, if you roll a 20, it's pretty much a diabolic tutor. Deadly Dispute. You have to sacrifice either an artifact or a creature, but you get to draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. We got an extended art Illyweek, Trumbull Strum, +1, automatically venture into the dungeon. -2, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. If it's a legendary, you gain 3 life. Put the rest of them on the bottom of your library in a random order. Most dragons are legendaries. So, -7, you get an emblem with creatures you control have trample and haste and get +2/+2 for each differently named dungeon you've completed. So if you completed every dungeon, I believe there's 4 or 5 of them, they get +2, 4, 6, 8, 10 +1 plus 10 +1 whatever, 10 +1/+1 counter until end of turn, or buff. They get +10/+10 buff, and then they could just all swing because they got haste and trample. Jara's Respite. Jara's Respite says search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So if there's a bunch of creatures attacking you, like if somebody's playing a goddamn goblin deck, fuck you goblin players. They all attack at once and they have 500 goblins. You just play Gyra's Respite. Why? Because you get 500 basic lands, which there isn't that many basic lands, but you get as many as you can, and they get put on the battlefield tapped. And then it says prevent all combat damage, so you could just let all 500 goblins hit you and it wouldn't do nothing. Yeah! It's really good against the goblin deck. Bard class. Most of these cards are from the 2 Dungeons & Dragons set, or the Commander set from Dungeons & Dragons, but I also added a couple cards from Kamigawa 2 commander sets, because these are Kamigawa commander set cards. Anyways, Bard class says legendary creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them. I have a lot of legendary dragons in this deck. You could level it up for 2, and legendary spells you cast cost 1 red and 1 green less to cast. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay. So, like Tiamat, it pretty much pays for the red and green. So you just gotta pay the white, blue, and black in the 2 colors. Or you can level it up to level 3. You still get the first 2 abilities, but the level 3 one says whenever you cast a legendary spell, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. The third ability isn't as cool as the first and second ability. The only reason I put this card in here is for the first and second ability. The Barbarian class. When I'm playing Dungeons & Dragons, I like to be Barbarian. Also, an elf barbarian. Don't say nothing. It's hilarious, but still, a big old buff fucking elf just taking people out is dope. Anyways, it says if you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice +1. Ignore the lowest roll. And then you level it up to level 2. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains menace until end of turn. And then you can level it up to level 3, and it says creatures you control have haste. So you get all 3 abilities after you level it all the way up. That's why I like these classes more than I like the other ones where it rolls down and then you have to sacrifice the enchantment. These ones you don't have to sacrifice. You just level them up and you get all 3 abilities on the card. Man, these are a lot of cards. Alright, I got the Grand Master of Flowers, which is another Planeswalker from this set. I got a lot of the Planeswalkers from this set. But I did not get the Lolith. Yeah. The coolest Planeswalker of that set. Grand Master of Flowers. Legendary Planeswalker Behemoth. Whatever. As long as Grand Master of Flowers has 7 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 7/7 dragon god creature with flying and indestructible. That's his passive ability. +1 is target creature without first strike, double strike, or vigilance can't attack or block until your next turn. And then the other one's a +1. Says search your library, enter a graveyard for a card named Monk of the Open Hand. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. The main reason I have this in here is because after you reach 7, this Planeswalker's no longer a Planeswalker. It's a 7/7 dragon god with flying and indestructible. Minx and Boo Timeless Heroes, which is from the newer Dungeons and Dragons set. I love this guy. He's a legendary planeswalker minx. When he enters the battlefield, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may create Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste. It's a 1/1 hamster with trample. Yeah, Boo. He's a 1/1 hamster with trample and haste. +1. You get to put 3 +1/+1 counters on a target creature with trample and haste. So I don't know if I have any creatures in here with trample and haste, but automatically Boo has trample and haste, so you can put 3 +1/+1 counters on Boo. -2 is sacrifice a creature. When you do, Minx and Boo Timeless Heroes deals X damage to any target, where X is the creature's power. But if the creature is a hamster, you get to draw X cards. So pretty much you just put a shit ton of counters on Boo. And then when Boo when Boo's like a 20/20 or a 40/40, you sacrifice him and you throw 40 damage at somebody, and then you get to draw 40 cards. I've done that. Trust me, it's hilarious. We got a sorcerer here called Thunderwave. It says roll a d20. Thunderwave. It says roll a d20. 1 and 9 says Thunderwave deals 3 damage to each creature. 10 and 19 says you may choose a creature. Thunderwave deals 3 damage to each creature not chosen this way. Or 20. Thunderwave deals 6 damage to each creature your opponents control. So if you're lucky enough to roll a 20, you pretty much clear your opponent's board unless they're also playing dragons or, you know, playing big creature decks. But still, it'll still wipe out half their board. Unquenchable Fury. It is an enchantment aurora enchant creature. Enchanted creature has whenever this creature attacks, it deals X damage to defending player, where X is the number of cards in your hand. When Unquenchable Fury is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you get to return it to your hand. So if your creature you enchanted this with dies, the enchantment also dies. So if it goes to the graveyard, you get to put it into your hand. Grave Endeavor. This one says roll 2d10s and choose one result. Return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the result. Then each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the other result. So, like, if I decided to put Tiamat into the graveyard and play this card, you roll 2d10s, you get him back from the graveyard. If you hit a 10 and like a 6 on the other one, I would go for the 6 and put 6 +1/+1 counters on Tiamat, and then the other one's a 10, so your opponent will lose 10 life and you'll gain 10 life. Sudden Insight. Draw a card for each different mana value among non-land cards in your graveyard. So pretty much draw value. You always want draw value in a deck. Druid class. I like the class cards, even though they're not really worth much. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. And then you could pay 2 colorless and a green and level it up to level 2. And it says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. So you can play 2 lands, and then you'll gain 2 life. And then 4 and 1 green. When this class becomes level 3, target land you control becomes a creature with haste, and this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. It's still a land. So that land will become probably a 20/20 creature that you could swing at somebody because it has haste. Descenter of Endless Waters. It's an artifact. You could tap it for any color, but it says you have no maximum hand size. And it costs 3. And then my last one is Power of Persuasion. This one says choose target creature an opponent controls, then roll a d20. 1 and 9, return it to its owner's hand. 10 and 19, its owner puts it on top of or bottom of their library. And then 20, you just gain control of it until the end of your next turn. So that's all my enchantments, artifacts, abilities. I really like this deck. So far I have not lost with the Tiamat deck, but you know, there's probably somebody out there with a 10 times better Tiamat deck than me. Oh, hey, how did you get outside? Come on.
Baby was outside?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. No, she got outside earlier today, and I knew she was going to come back.
Well, she came back. That was the full deck tech, guys. There will be a deck tech later. Another one. Joe Jazzy is about to drop another cool dragon deck tech. I will not tell you what the dragon is, but it's really cool. We will get a Commander Legends box pretty soon. Not a Commander Legends, Double Masters box pretty soon. Maybe we'll be able to pull some of them sweet cards. Well, this video has gone on long enough. KruzMTG is about to log off. So, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me how sucky my deck is, or tell me how good it is. I don't know. You guys don't really talk much, but you like to watch our videos sometimes, so watch it all the way through. Give us some views, something. Alright, peace out.